Hi again, everybody. This video is sponsored by contribution from Tricia, and here's her story. I've been watching your videos for a few months trying to learn as much as I can about narcs. I want to make sure I never experience anything like this again. My ex-husband was diagnosed with borderline and histrionic personality disorder. The marriage was a horrible nightmare and it caused me a lot of trust issues with men. I didn't date for a very long time because I was very afraid and unable to open up and trust. About 4 years after my marriage ended, I felt I was in a good place to rebuild the relationship, and I started dating a man my age. He told me he had been divorced about 2 years. I'm writing because I'm still not positive if he's a narc or what's going on. I know I'm not perfect, but I try to treat people good. Anyway, he and I dated and built what I thought was a solid friendship before becoming intimate. We seen each other at least 3 to 5 days a week. Anyway, the first red flag was he was always fighting with his ex. Every day there was drama and fighting. I thought this was really unusual, but I tried to be understanding and let him vent. I tried to give him helpful advice. He made his ex sound like an absolute monster. I met his friends from college. They all moved south together about 17 years ago, three of them. His friends seemed nice at first. They told me he deserved to be treated good and his ex was a bitch. I also found that strange why they were commenting about her. Anyway, the first time I went to his home, we had been dating a couple months. We always hung out at my home or friends. When we got there, after an all day event, I quickly realized he didn't appear to be divorced. The house was decorated like a woman did it. Everything there were even family pics up. When I said something to him, he admitted he was not divorced but had been separated, living apart for over a year, and they were even separated in the home longer than that. I left because I don't date separated men and because he lied. Then the next day started sending messages and calling that he felt like we really had something and how sorry he was and that he only lied because otherwise I wouldn't have dated him. I stupidly forgave him and continued to date him, trying to understand why he felt the need to lie. His fighting with her became worse. There were two occasions when he said the fights became physical and he had marks. I wish they could resolve their differences for the children's sake at least. Anyway, I was his emotional security blanket. Every day I had to hear about their drama, even though I had told him I feel like our life centers around that and I'd like not to discuss her anymore. At 3.5 months together, we had a week-long trip with his friends. During the trip, I seen him and his friends using heavy drugs. He says it's once a year. That was a lie. Anyway, during the trip, he says to me out of the blue that he had a nervous breakdown and had to be hospitalized before we met. This really freaked me out and I didn't want to judge him. I was disappointed, but I was supportive but scared. Okay, so let me ask you this right here. You waited 4 years after your divorce because you didn't trust anybody, and you immediately go with a guy who immediately starts lying to you. What was the point of the 4 years? You could have just started dating right after your divorce and been here. When we got back, that's when the details of the breakdown came out. He didn't just get stressed like he made it sound. He thought his ex was trying to kill him with poison gas in the air and all these crazy ideas. He said, heard voices. This actually made me a little afraid of him that he would lose contact with reality again. He claimed she cheated on him, which triggered the episode. I started to spend more time at his home several days a week. He took most of the family photos down, said he hadn't noticed, that's why they were up. Then one day he left the closet open and I noticed it was full of her clothes. What the fuck if she's lived away for a year? Why? This is a 6,500 square foot home with empty closets and many rooms and storage. Anyway, that caused a fight too. Eventually, he said he understood why I was upset and he packed up her things a while later. After spending more time with his friends, I really felt they were womanizing jerks. They were doing hard drugs almost every time I saw them. Told me about their fraternity games with women, sex, and bets. What they thought was cool, but was really treating women like objects. Anyway, I was stupid enough not to connect the dots. Birds of a feather flock together. So now I realize he does drugs, which makes no sense because he's on antipsychotic meds. He and his friends are successful business owners and seem to have life under control. I thought maybe I'm a prude. Who am I to tell them how to live? So I didn't say anything. At this point, we were all together. At this point, we are together about 7 months. We spend just about every day and night together at my house or his. I felt very in love. Then my daughter's dad, my ex-husband, decides he's not taking her for visitation anymore. He's done this a few times. BPD. This behavior makes me angry because he's hurting my daughter. So my boyfriend isn't supportive. He even starts lying to me and not spending as much time with me. For instance, he told me he didn't feel well and had to go home. His daughters needed him. Then he called to say goodnight on his phone. Then he called to say goodnight. His phone was having issues and dying. He then calls me later in the middle of the night saying he can't sleep and can he come over. He comes over drunk with a band from a club on. I didn't say much. I just went to sleep because I didn't want to fight with my daughter there. Anyway, this is the stuff he starts doing. Then he starts joking to me about killing his ex, which caused an argument I told him, because I told him it's sick and not funny. They were fighting over property and custody. Anyway, this makes me now the enemy, and he starts lying to me and treating me different. So I broke up with him. He convinced me and loved me and got back together after a few weeks. My daughter's dad started talking to her again. Then after 9 months of dating and the ongoing fighting drama with him and his ex, he shows up for dinner with a work vehicle. Turns out he's loaned his personal vehicle to his ex, who he hates, who I have to hear about every day. Something in me snaps. I'm just so over it. Done. I took his phone and looked at it and looked in it and seeing their conversations they had. They had been talking about meeting each other and sending pics, etc. So I broke up again. It started the cycle of breaking up and getting back together numerous times over the next 8 months. This is how high school kids act. Again, you waited 4 years to date for this. Each time you treat me bad, we'd break up. We'd go get back together, and each time the treatment got worse. He would even block, you know why it gets worse? Because every time you take him back, he wants to push it to see how much more he can get away with. He would even block me and tell me never to contact him again, and then he'd contact me. He threatened to sue me for defamation of character, then 2 days later contact me. It was so confusing, but I loved him very much. Didn't know if he was just having a mental breakdown or confusion. At the time, I knew of 3 mental breakdowns in the past. He called them psychosis episodes. I loved him, but it all finally started to come to an end in August 2015. We were seeing each other. Things were going pretty good. Nothing like before. It went bad, but we were getting back on track. The main change was he was now drunk 50% of the time. I got a message from his ex that he had actually cheated on her. She and the kids had moved out for their safety. He had 3 involuntary mental hospitalizations. The main thing she wanted me to know was the girl he cheated on her with, he was cheating on me with the same girl. She said he had been for a long time. I couldn't believe it when he came over. I showed him the message, and he claimed she lied and just wanted to ruin things. I ended completely. He would call me almost every day drunk, then heard nothing. Silence, which was odd. So after 6 weeks of silence, I drove down his street. I was at a friend's. It was on my way home, and I wanted to see if his house was for sale, and I was being nosy. Turns out he and the girl he cheated on me with were coming down the street. She stopped, approached my car, and started yelling at me. I got out. She grabbed me and started scratching, so I hit her. They made false charges against me, and I had to go to court to get a lawyer, everything. The magistrate told me to press charges back, but on both of them because I had photos. Both had prior records pretty bad. They tried to extort me say if I gave them $2,500 they would drop it. Anyway, the court stuff got dismissed. Not before they lied multiple times, and the girl told me they are in love and getting married. All three of us signed an agreement not to contact each other again. So I think it's finally over. Then 6 weeks later, he contacts me apologizing. Turns out she had him arrested and jailed for assault and then sold property from him when he was not allowed back in his home. She got a protective order, then charged him with violating it. She also tried to have his 16-year-old daughter charged with child abuse. She had the police there and everything. She messed him over really bad, but I guess karma, or who knows, he did all that to her and he's lying. I don't know, but he's told me his story. But then he would get mad at me for nothing and kept calling me drunk every night. He spends all his non-working time at a bar drinking, and he has to have people pick him up. He does this every day. He has stopped contacting me because I stopped responding and confronted him via email response. I think after 3 years, it's finally over. 3 years? He told me he let the girl live there because he felt sorry for her and she needed a place to live. The last time I saw him, he asked to meet me to talk. He told me I'm very trusting and I believe everything, but was saying it like, you're so stupid. He was saying, because I believed his ex and ruined our perfectly good relationship. He said you could die today, so could blank, his ex-wife. He said people die every day. It was really strange and not on topic. Like he said, he would call me multiple times daily drunk, want me to come over or meet him, and then he would send angry emails like I was harassing him. Is he a crazy drunk or a narc? I know I sound stupid. I've been through a lot working on self-esteem and boundaries. I respect your opinion if you have any advice. I forgot to add, might be important. I did say he lied to the police and judge under oath about me. He made up stuff that didn't happen, crazy lies, but a few other things I should have told you. When the girl got him in trouble, it was kind of an ironic twist. As I mentioned, she called the police on his 16-year-old daughter for child abuse, so his ex-wife went to the house. He kept telling the police officer he wanted the ex-wife arrested for trespassing. Excuse me. He hung up signs and had already been trying to get her in trouble for this. Anyway, the officer would not arrest her, so he went to the magistrate a few days later. He went there to get an officer in trouble and also to have the ex-wife arrested. When he was there pursuing charges against them, they arrested him and put him in jail because the girlfriend had pressed charges on him. So they may lead to the narc personality. He hired the attorney that I used in our case to handle those cases for him. There were multiple now. He has the attorney, our friends. He and the attorney are friends on Facebook, equally weird. Another thing is his sister died from cancer while we were still talking. He and his brother are now trying to take everything from her life partner. I thought that was really weird since she lives really far away and had always said that they were very close. After her death, when money became involved, the guy is now horrible. He leaves his daughter's home alone all the time, even goes out of state with them home, 13 and 16. He let boys and girls stay overnight. Groups of kids party and sleep there. His daughter has no rules and drives around without a license to pick him up several times a week. He let a guy live there that did drugs and would even leave him alone there with his daughter overnight. The guy robbed him, so he finally got kicked out. His daughter has no rules, no structure, and does whatever she wants. Last time I was there, he didn't even have his own bed. He sleeps in their room on dirty clothes. I guess that girl stole his bedroom set and he never got a new one. I know not to send multiple emails, but it's important info I should have include if you want. Thanks. Again, I'm going to ask the question, why in the hell did you wait 4 years to start dating and then step right into this? You waited 4 years, and at the first lie, you should have been gone. What was the point of 4 years of not dating? Look, this is obviously an alcoholic, a narcissist, a clear narcissist. Every tactic he uses is narcissistic, and he's the type of narcissist who's hell-bent on revenge. He's a revenge narcissist. He gets off on making you pay for slights against him. Is he out of his mind? Like all this. He'll turn on anybody. I'll have you arrested. I'll have you. He reminds me of my father. He reminds me of Meet Normus a lot. If Meet Normus was the alcoholic, he'd be him. Constantly trying to get people in trouble. Constantly trying to hold power over people's heads. At the same time, I'm like, one after another, I'll have you arrested. I'll have you arrested. I'll have the cop in trouble. And what happens? They end up getting themselves in trouble. You waited 4 years for this. After divorcing a narcissistic psychopathic ex, he said, borderline histrionic. If this isn't borderline histrionic, I don't know what is. The mental institutions, like, I don't even think he's necessarily crazy. I just think he's a drunk and can't control his grandiosity. Histrionics, over the top histrionics, childlike behavior, party-like behavior, bad decision making. It's a borderline and histrionic personality together tied into one. There is no question about it. The fact that you're questioning it makes me scratch my head. It makes me wonder, what were you doing those 4 years where you weren't dating after your first divorce? No contact doesn't work without self-discovery. If you're just going to sit there, and just say, well, I'm not dating, that doesn't fix anything. What fixes things is understanding the behavior and understanding why you're doing what you're doing, which is why you're here. So the next time a guy comes around that you want to date, and the first lie, the first misconception, the first anything, run. Because you're susceptible to this. This will continue to repeat itself over and over and over again. You didn't date for 4 years after your last narcissist, and you pick up another one. And now you're questioning if he's a narcissist or it's just the alcohol. Who cares? He's clearly a narcissist and an alcoholic. You can't save him. You can't help him. He sees you as nothing more than supply. He wants the party. He wants you for nothing more than stability, while he goes off and does crazy shit with random whores. And then hell-bent on revenge anytime he doesn't get his way or anytime somebody challenges him. And it doesn't matter who, because he was crazy enough to try to get the cops and go down and make a complaint on the cops, knowing that he's involved in a physical altercation already. That's the delusion. That's probably why he ended up getting himself thrown into a mental institution, because when you act like that, people are going to be like, okay, you're crazy and you're an asshole. You need to be locked away. So yeah, he's a narcissist. But keep in mind, no contact is meaningless without self-discovery. And it appears you took 4 years and just thought not dating for 4 years was going to fix everything and produce a non-narcissistic person that you're normally attracted to. And it doesn't. All those 4 years did, I think, is make you lonely and make you wanting a normal relationship. Made you maybe even put up with more than you may have in the past, because you did it without any self-discovery. Run at the first lie. Run at the first lie. So Thank you so much for your contribution. Thank you for your story. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a narcissist you'd like to expose, or a topic you'd like me to cover, you know what to do with the PayPal link and my email link in the description box. And please remember, when you email me your story, let me know at the top whether or not it's with contribution or not, and what name you want to go by. This is Ollie Matthews. Thanks for watching. See you all again soon.